Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we are looking at the Chopard L.U.C Pro 1 GMT. You can see this rare Chopard sports watch on our website. Purchase it there, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our channel. You can also click on the card in the upper right hand corner of this video at any time to see our complete listing for this watch with additional photographs, accessories included, and naturally complete pricing information. Now, the Chopard L.U.C Pro 1 series debuted in 2004 and ran to about 2009, and it was different from almost anything else in the manufacture movement L.U.C Louis Chopard series because it was an out-and-out sports watch. Now, there was a diver and there was a complementary GMT, also rated 300 meters water resistance, and that's the watch that we're sharing here today. Because it's so different from the rest of what Chopard produces, especially the rest of the Louis Chopard line, it deserves a special highlight for its unique and fantastic features. Now, on my wrist, it is a full-sized reference. While rated at 42, my measurements across the case with the caliper suggest that it's actually closer to a 43, so we'll diplomatically say this one is 42.5 across the round of the case, not including crown guard or crown. Now, from lug to lug, this watch is 51 millimeters, so it has a modern full-size stance. It spans the wrist nicely. If you have reservations about buying a sports watch that looks too small, this is actually a good compromise between tiny and traditional and oversized outright. Now, the watch is quite thin thanks to the micro rotor manufacturer Chopard movement inside. It's only 13.5 millimeters thick, and with a sloped bezel, it's actually quite easy to wear a tight sleeve or dress cuff over and around this watch. Now, the strap itself is best described as an event because the strap and the clasp are among the finest I have ever seen in the dive class. First and foremost, Chopard did not cheap out. These are threaded lugs, and the strap itself is held in by screws. More expensive to manufacture and a little bit more time consuming to change out. It is nevertheless more secure than spring pins when holding a substantial strap to a heavy watch designed to be used in active lifestyles. More secure, that's your peace of mind. You also know that your watchmaker was cutting no corners in the design of this watch. Chopard gives you a lot, and that continues in the strap itself, which is massive. You can see the sheer cut of the flanks, just how thick it is, almost as thick as the lugs themselves. There is a contrasting orange stitch that matches the dial and the bezel, and it's quite beautifully made on both sides, very tough. It's paired with a brilliant clasp, quite frankly. Double deployant, it also gives you the flexibility if you have a wrist that accommodates a single deployant better than a double. You can use it as a double, or you can use it as a single. It has an unequal length swing arm that gives you a lot of flexibility in how you deploy it, and you can simply use it as convenience and anatomy dictate. Now, I will mention that it keeps the elegant traditional low profile of a pin buckle when it's closed, yet it has a very clever and subtly integrated twin trigger action, so it's not friction fit. When it's closed, it is secured closed until you push the triggers. Moreover, when I speak about quality here, I do mean quality and security. It's fixed in place not by a pin buckle, but by a threaded screw. Very tough. And that really is the story of the Pro 1. Now, it's more rugged and more overtly sporting than the previous Ocean 2000 line. This is all about sports, and it integrated a couple of looks and a couple of features that were definitely ahead of their time. First and foremost, the sapphire capped bezel. Now, IWC and Blancpain made this look famous in the mid to late 2000s, but Chopard actually debuted this watch at the tail end of 2003 for the 2004 model year, and they were definitely on top of the rich aesthetic that could be achieved using a sapphire cap on top of a fully loomed bezel. Not only is the loom completely protected so it glows like a torch, very distinctive at night, but the look of the sapphire gives the bezel a look of depth, almost as though it's wet full-time. Very rich, incredible luster, and that continues in the dial itself. Now, there's a subtle rehaut, a seconds track that slopes down from the inner flange of the bezel to the dial itself, which features a gorgeous rayon guilloche at center. You can see how in distinctive L.U.C fashion, rather than radiating outward from the cannon pinion at center, it emanates from the Chopard marquee itself. Now, all of the applied dart indices are faceted and polished, and they have a jewel-like dazzling effect in the light. It is very attractive, and the watch is abundantly legible with this sort of hybrid broad arrow Dauphine hand paired with its opposite number for minutes. It's easily legible at night, and it's spectacular in daylight. The orange accents are used nicely. Like the reflective quality of the applied indices, they accent without overpowering. They're fun, they're appropriate to a sports watch, and I should clarify the GMT function of this watch. It works like a true GMT, like the Rolex GMT Master of the mid-1950s, which is to say that the 24-hour hand, the orange hand, moves at half the speed of the local time, but they are coupled, so you can't show two time zones by simply moving the hands out of sync with each other. What you do is you actually offset from the GMT hand using the 24-hour bezel, using the local offset from GMT for whatever, if you're flying, airport you're flying into, or if you simply want to know the time at a locale. Now, it does have a quick set date courtesy of the caliber 496. This is the 496-24H, a derivative of the core micro rotor used in the basic L.U.C Pro 1 diver. Again, very refined. It has chronometer certification, and what sits underneath this beautiful compass rose caseback is a Chopard in-house tungsten rotor micro rotor, and the fact that the rotor is in the same plane as the rest of the movement explains why this watch is so thin despite being a complicated deep diving sports watch. Now, it features Chopard's signature stacked barrels for 65-hour power reserve. It also features hacking seconds, so you pull the crown, you stop the balance, and you're able to synchronize the watch precisely to a known accurate reference time. It's a beautifully finished 31 jewel movement adjusted in 5 positions. Once again, it is a COSC chronometer like the best from Breitling, Rolex, and Omega, but everything about this watch is detailed to a higher level than a standard sports watch. You can even see the subtle taper of the crown guards themselves, the contrasting brushed hoods of the lugs, and polished flanks of the case. It's a gorgeous, fun-loving summer watch for 2016. I recently wrote an article for IW Magazine in which I called out timepieces that I believed were emerging classics from the late model era, and the Chopard L.U.C Pro 1 GMT was one of my selections. This is a special watch, and one that I think is going to be appreciated more and more in time. You can see it, and you can buy this Pioneer on our website.